Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today we'll be talking about Manipulation 201, Self-Preservation for a Dark Triad World. This is by the eminent Red Pill Mentor Tokyo, who is also on the YouTube.com, and he's done a tremendous service, not just to the manosphere, but humanity at large, because he's capable of breaking down information to make it accessible while at the same time providing adequate academic weight and formidability. Because on the opposite end, you might have someone making an emotional argument that contains morsels of the truth, but it's easier to dismiss because, well, you didn't provide the necessary backup to what you were saying. I believe this is his first release as far as texts are concerned, and it pertains to manipulation types you might come across, whether it's with coworkers or in relationships. So I highly advise checking out. I'm going to put a couple of links in the description. And what I'll do is cover some of the points that stood out to me and maybe relate to aspects that I've experienced in my own life. Early on in the book, he mentions how if you're the type of person who may be more cerebral or insular when you interact with another, you might have to think before you say things, and you might not make eye contact in that spill of seconds. Well, there are some types, narcissists in particular, who will use it as a sign, oh, I can dominate you, you're submissive. And this can very much be the case. I remember as a teenager, I was waiting for my mom to come home because the cable man was going to show up and try to set up internet. And this freaking clownish, looked like Carlos Santana type Mexican with a curly hair. He is obviously didn't want to be there that day, which you'll find with some of these technicians. But I said, yeah, my mom's going to be back in a little bit. And I gestured and looked in the direction roughly where she was supposed to eventually emerge. And he was going,
Oh, yeah. Will you not be making eye contact? As they say, the eyes are the window into the soul.
I was going, WTF, dude, what is your problem? But it's true. People, rather than respecting the fact that you might be trying to get information correct or that minds work in various fashions, will see it as easy prey. Now, as Mentor notes, the advantage is if you're practiced in this, you can spot their attempt to get one over on you early on and turn it back, or simply choose to not interact with that person. Because in many cases, what is the most effective weapon against a narcissist or a manipulator is to freeze them out. Don't give them any attention or noise unless you absolutely have to. Throughout the text, Mentor relates a lot of these manipulation tactics to relations between men and women, in particular, dark triad females, and how they may attempt to dominate a man. Things such as husband testing, seeing how he's going to react, different emotional states based upon what she attempts to do. And later on in the book, he mentions the bringing up an ex. And it might not just be an ex, it could be a guy on the street they point to, it could be an adult entertainment video where they're, in some sense, searching for a way to either emasculate the dude they're with or figure out if they can reach that point where he's going to snap. Now, the traditional manosphere is going to tell you maintain frame, but this is not really in line with what most men ideally would like to get away with. And my theory is the reason women push buttons, it's primordial in some sense. They are trying to get the guy to go cowabunga caveman on them. They may not consciously realize this, and if he did so, she would probably, in many cases, or at least her friends would pressure that she has to have him charged and locked up. But at some level, they cannot remove that from their psyche. Just as even if a woman's conservative or traditional, more than probably she's not looking for gazing into one other's eyes, missionary style soft caresses. She wants to be choked, hair pulled, spanked. It goes to this whole basis. You know, I was dating a girl once and I'm on the way to the gym. I'm talking with her on the phone. I already had a lot of things on my mind, so I wasn't in the best mood, but she just kept digging and nagging because I didn't want to talk with her. And women will do this where they get irritated, and so they just will try to keep you on the phone and badger constantly. So I pulled into the gym parking lot and I just Rare occasion, I lost control and I yelled at her. So she immediately disconnects the call. But then, not long after, she either called me back or sent me a text message and she said, "Oh, I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. But to be honest, it really turned me on." And you're saying, why would you be turned on by getting yelled at? Well, it goes back to this whole thing. The man unchained is what they actually seek, but they might not be able to put it into words because society is telling them, of course, no, you should not be with someone who's going to be abusive emotionally or obviously physically. But nonetheless, we see a lot of girls, they gravitate towards bad boys, criminals, murderers, gangsters, not the type of men that they're raised to see as ideal and proper. Now, this gins up a terrible conundrum for women because in the modern age with technology, the information, black pill, red pill, MGTOW esque, is much more difficult to control. The gatekeepers are gone in the social state. And average men are realizing I need to take care of myself financially, physically, don't age like a rotten potato, don't be the back burner for these women. In the past, it would have been enough to be told, oh, this bad boy, he abused her, he took advantage of her, but she's a good girl. You can still be the hero, the white knight that saves. And in the 50s, that bad boy would have been maybe one or two at most. But in the present age, it's going to be 30, 40, 50 because they're so open about it. So as these guys start understanding what's going on and they're saying, I'm not going to bail you out when you're in your 30s. I'm not saying this, by the way, that the women lose SMV per se. They can still smash, but if they don't want to work, if they want a guy to take care of them, and they think, okay, that nice softy, well, he's not going to accept because he has a stronger sense of self respect, hopefully. And that is the problem. So you'll see an attempt either they want to censor the information, or as it becomes very popular, they try to co opt it and say, yeah, well, it's those bad feminists, but us conservative girls, which in many cases is a reformed feminist or carousel rider who now wants to be a trad wife, it's still about us. So it goes back to the gynocratic matriarchy, and you're still orienting your entire life around this woman, which you see, many of these conservative traditional communities, ultimately, it is all about the woman. That's their single most thing they're pursuing. No matter how religious they are, it comes down to, I need to find a woman. The woman is the center of the universe. So, in that sense, you can definitely garner much. And that's why I recommend checking out this text because it doesn't just have applicability, in the workplace, but very much so in relationships. And if you know these things, you can spot those flags earlier on because a lot of guys, especially when they're young, they're thinking they're in control of the relationship, but she's playing a longer game. Or in fact, they're getting manipulated, but she's just giving enough freedom to where he thinks, oh, yeah, I'm a high value male. Don't be a fool. Check this book out, learn, and you can avoid many of those problems along the road of life.